Bruce Grayling.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I beg to move that leave be given to bring in a bill to regulate and limit the practice of bottom trawling in marine protected areas and for connected purposes. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, I know that this is a significant change in tone and issue from the very serious matters we've just been discussing. But the process of our democracy must also continue as well. And I believe that there is a growing consensus in this country that we need to do much more to protect our natural habitats, to ease the pressure on our wildlife, and to play a part in reversing the catastrophic loss of biodiversity worldwide. As some members will know, I am passionate about reversing the deforestation, which is destroying some of the world's most important ecosystems, but we must not and should not forget the importance of marine habitats, both here and internationally. Failure to protect the habitats beneath our seas not only puts even more pressure on a vast range of creatures, but also damages one of our most important carbon sinks. Now, I suspect, Madam Deputy Speaker, that most members in this House would think that the presence of marine protected areas, covering around a third of our national waters, would play a big part in ensuring that we do actually look after our own marine habitats. Sadly, the truth is rather different, because our marine protected areas do not actually offer a lot of protection at all, particularly for our seabeds. The area at the bottom are seas, so often populated by the smallest creatures that make up an important part of the natural food chains on our oceans, remain open to large-scale trawlers that drag nets along the bottom, destroying much of what is in their path. Some of the largest international vessels that do this are spectacularly damaging in the approach that they take, as they use enormous power to scoop up everything as they go, and they have equipment that covers a vast area underwater. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, less than 100th of our 1% of our waters are covered by the highest level of protection where all fishing is banned. 94% of our MPAs permit this bottom trawling, only 6% do not. That, in my view, does not make these proper marine protected areas, and I think that it should stop, as indeed do a whole range of conservation groups. Now, only right now the Marine Conservation Society has a campaign to try and achieve this goal, and I know the Minister is committed to the kinds of improvements that we need. But we've got to make a difference. In total, we have 372 marine protected areas, including coastal and offshore areas, making up a total of 38% of UK waters. But we know that a significant number of those are far from being in good shape. Among the most important, around 2/3 have significant habitat degradation. And bottom trawling is a key part of the problem, with the scalping of the seafloor leaving habitats big challenges to recover. And it's not just fish and other marine species that suffer when bottom trawling takes place. Plants like kelp and seagrass are important habitats in their own right. But they're also important absorbers of carbon, and planting new areas with both is and should be an important part of tackling carbon emissions. But there's no point doing that if bottom trawling destroys underwater plants like kelp. And in our marine protected areas, that simply should not have happened. I know the government shares my concern about the condition of our ocean floors. All too often, a large-scale net scoops up not just all of the wildlife on the bottom, but churns up and destroys the reefs that are there, and the sediment, which is an important carbon absorber and actually releases carbon from the seafloor. All of this is why the government has a commitment to properly protect 30% of our land and seas by 2030. The Fisheries Act paved the way for things to be done with this issue, to deal with this issue at sea, a welcome recognition of how we need to improve things and a good step by the government. And of course, this is one of the benefits we have. Now we're not tied down by the common fisheries policy. We can set new rules and regulations for our waters, which during this decade will enable us to totally transform stewardship of the seas without being subject to the diktat of Brussels. Outside the European Union, we are actually freer to improve our environmental standards in a way we could not always do before. But we need to get on with it, and this bill is designed to do that. It will have the effect of placing a duty on the Secretary of State, within 12 months of it receiving royal assent, to lay before Parliament regulations which ban bottom trawling in our marine protected areas. It will allow the Secretary of State and the Minister to make some very limited and careful exemptions, but only where they're necessary to support small-scale local fisheries and the smaller boats from our local ports, and then only when the evidence of the nature of the habitats in a particular area make that possible. In my view, there are no circumstances in which any fishing boat should be dragging a net along the bottom of the most environmentally important areas. Now, I know the fishing industry faces challenges. The growth of offshore wind energy, for example, has made fishing in other areas of the ocean more difficult than it's been in the past. I also know that the bottom of some parts of the existing protected areas is actually itself of little ecological value. The value is higher up in the water, and the government may choose to look at that issue when shaping detailed plans. But it cannot be in the interests of any of the fishing industry if the fish themselves have no protected place to grow and develop. And if they can't do that in our protected areas, then where on earth can they do so? And we know that restrictions, where they have been introduced on a limited scale, can make a genuine difference. A year ago, a local ban was introduced off the coast of Sussex because of particularly extreme damage to the kelp forest there, which had had a serious impact on local ecosystems. Evidence now from those people who are monitoring the outcome of that ban shows that those ecosystems have started to recover. And that surely has to give us a signpost as to what needs to be done in our broader marine protected areas. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, this bill is based on a very simple premise, and that is that our marine protected areas should actually protect marine life. I think that's what was the intention of having marine protected areas. I think it's what most people would imagine is actually already the case, and I suspect most people would be horrified to discover that isn't actually the case. I think it's time to rectify the situation. I know the Minister is keen to try and achieve the same. I hope this bill will actually provide a degree of stimulus to get that job done quickly. This is a major environmental challenge for our coastal waters. It's one that we need to face up to, it's one we've got to deal with, and we've got to make sure that our marine protected areas are genuinely, absolutely, unreservedly marine protected areas, which after all, Madam Deputy Speaker, is what they're supposed to be. And I commend this bill to the House.
Very good.
The question is that the Right Honourable Member have leave to bring in the bill. As many as that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Who will prepare and bring in the bill?
Madam Deputy Speaker, Bob Seeley, Oliver Heald, Barry Gardner, Andrew Sellew, Neil Parish, Kerry McCarthy and myself.
Chris Grayling.
Marine Protected Areas Bottom Trawling Bill.
Second reading, what day?
Friday the 18th of March, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Friday the 18th of March. Thank you.